The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 28th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised as he said. Come see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." The Gospel of the Lord. Alleluia. It is our favorite Easter word. It means, as I told the kids, praise the Lord, and it sums up all of the great feelings that we hope Easter brings. Joy, happiness, peace, contentment, and for a few of us, relief that Lent is finally over. And yet, as we read the first Easter accounts of Jesus' resurrection, the predominant feeling is not joy or happiness, but fear. Sure, the women run from the tomb with great joy, but even that great joy is secondary to fear. They run from the tomb with fear and great joy. And even when they meet the risen Jesus and they recognize that he's alive, they're still afraid. Jesus has to repeat to them the very same words the angel had just spoken. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. It's actually the most common refrain of all the Easter stories. And it reminds us that the first disciples of Jesus were still pretty scared, even after they recognized that Jesus had risen from the dead. Sometimes that strikes us as odd, especially on Easter Sunday when we think everybody should be so full of joy. And we wonder what the disciples had to be afraid of now that Jesus was alive again. And yet, all the things that scared the disciples were still there, even after Jesus rose from the dead. That's why Jesus says, "Do not be afraid," instead of, "Hey guys, you don't got anything to worry about anymore." There's an important distinction. Both the disciples and the risen Jesus recognized that there was still a lot for the disciples to be afraid of. The disciples were afraid of the authorities who had crucified Jesus just 3 days earlier, both the Romans and the religious leaders. They had killed Jesus, but they'd also kill the rest of the disciples if they were given an opportunity. The disciples were still afraid of what the future would hold for them. When Jesus died, their whole future was shattered. Now that Jesus was alive again, it became clear almost immediately that they weren't going to be able to just go back to business as usual. The future was going to be radically different. Now what? That could be scary. And the disciples were afraid of who they were going to have to be and become because of their renewed relationship with Jesus. God was leading them into an unknown future, and that meant that they were going to have to live differently. Jesus would send them to places they'd never been and ask them to do things they had never done before. From the very beginning, they seemed to sense that this was coming. They were scared. And so when Jesus says, "Do not be afraid," he's in fact acknowledging that there's a lot to be afraid of and that the disciples live in a scary world. But what Jesus is really doing is calling his disciples to live in a new way, in spite of all the scary stuff. To live in a new way in which fear is not the predominant thing anymore. Do not be afraid doesn't mean, pretend there's no scary stuff out there. Instead, Jesus is calling his followers to a new way of living which is centered on keeping perspective in the midst of all the scary stuff. Jesus' resurrection shows that there's something greater and even more powerful than all the legitimately scary stuff in in the world, even the stuff that could and sometimes would kill the disciples. And that's why for us, Easter isn't a time to retreat for a moment into some kind of Pollyanna springtime world filled with peace and joy where nothing bad can happen to us. Instead, it's an opportunity to remember that the worst things that we've read about in our news feeds this week, including Christians who were murdered while they were in church, are not more powerful or significant than God's power to renew and restore life. Easter is not a retreat from reality, but rather an important corrective perspective in the midst of all the bad stuff that happens each day around us and to us. Do not be afraid, is Jesus' call to keep in mind that the power of God to restore life really is greater than the power of evil to take it away. Jesus' call not to be afraid is a call to his disciples to trust that they're not alone as they move into an unknown future. Jesus told the women that everybody should go back to Galilee, and he didn't tell them anything that would happen once they got to Galilee, except that he was going to be there ahead of them. And that's why for us, Easter can't just be a retreat back into the traditions of our youth, where it seems like for a moment, everything is just like it was when we were kids, and we dress up for church and we hunt for Easter eggs and stuff like that. Instead, Easter is a reminder that as we face a future with lots of unknowns, the one thing we can count on is that Jesus will be there ahead of us also, with us, helping us to figure out what's next. Do not be afraid, because Jesus promised that he's going to be there for us in our future, even when we don't know what the future looks like. Even Jesus' final words in Matthew's Gospel promise that he will be with them to the end of the age, even though nobody knows when the end of the age will be or exactly what it's going to look like. Jesus' call not to be afraid is the call to act boldly in spite of their fears. The first part of that journey to Galilee was actually probably going to be the worst. They were going to have to leave the places in Jerusalem where they were hiding. That, in and of itself, is scary. And yet, sometimes the most important part of not being afraid is to take the first bold step into the unknown. For us too, church and being in church has sometimes become a place where we feel like things don't got to change. And yet the risen Jesus calls us also to grow beyond who we've been so that we can be risen disciples in a new age. It's scary and it's confusing whenever anybody, especially God, asks us to change and to grow. But for us too, sometimes taking the first steps to change and grow can be the beginning of living beyond our fears and living into a new and risen way in which we don't let fear control our lives anymore. The resurrection is great news, but it's great news for those of us who live in the real world, a world filled with lots of stuff to be afraid of. And that's because God's new life in Jesus promises us something that can help us deal with all the stuff that's scary and confusing in the world around us. So do not be afraid. It's the way that we live into the new life to which Jesus calls us. It's the way we bear witness to the resurrection of Jesus in our lives, and it's the way we share the power of the resurrection with those in the world around us.